haven't quite defined my leadership style yet.
Right.
And I really want to become this self-evolved leader. Where do we start?
Let me start just a little bit before we start, because I may have convinced you, but I may not have convinced everybody else on the call. So let me just layer out one more thing just to see if folks can place themselves within this.
Okay, with you.
How I specifically see it often play out, this notion of the heroic leader ends up trapped in a cycle of mediocrity, where they and their team are not necessarily doing bad work, but they're not doing the best work that they can do. And the cycle of mediocrity goes like this. We live in a world where everything is urgent, where everything is required of us yesterday, where anybody can interrupt us at any time and assign whatever priority they want to it. What that does is it actually, if you're prone to leading through acts of heroism, it forces you more in that direction. I'm just going to respond. I'll deal with it. It's faster, easier, better, stronger for me just to deal with it. So somebody on your team comes to you with an issue or a challenge, you either just tell them what to do or you say, hey, don't worry about it, I've got it. It's just this constant being stuck in the weeds in the trenches. What that does is over time, it starts to build a sense of learned helplessness in your team, where they're saying, well, if the boss is just going to do this for me, I'm just going to stop thinking for myself. There's no point. I'll just literally go and say, hey, problem, what do you want me to do? Or do you want to do it? And it becomes very transactional, which over time leads to massive disempowerment for them and frustration and overwhelm for you, because you're taking on more, which then amplifies the urgency and you get caught in this ongoing cycle. It's not that you can't deliver good work, and there may be flashes of good work, but for the most part, you're all just sort of stuck in this cycle of mediocrity where it just feels a bit meh. If you think that if you recognize yourself in that cycle, then you're definitely going to benefit from transitioning towards a cycle of excellence. And the first perspective around the cycle of excellence is to realize that you don't add value in the urgency, you add value in the importance. So the more that you can elevate your focus to concentrate on those things that are important but not necessarily urgent, using that wonderful Eisenhower matrix, that's where you add value as a leader. We have convinced ourselves and told ourselves over time that we add value in the urgency bit. We help solve problems, we help get out of crises, we're in there with our team, and we have a tendency to turn everything into a crisis. In fact, some leaders literally go out looking for crises every day. Here's the interesting thing about it. Solving crisis in and of itself is an ego booster. It's got great rewards and it keeps you caught in that cycle, because you solve a problem on a daily basis. You go put out a fire or solve a crisis. You get to go home at the end of the day. You feel wanted, helpful, valuable, useful, and needed. It gives us an endorphin rush, and it's those rewards that keep us stuck in that cycle. Whereas if you're focusing on the truly important stuff, the medium and long-term direction of your team and the development of your people, that's a much longer reward cycle, and the payoff is way down the line. It might be next quarter, it might be next year before you really start to see the benefits. But you got to make that transition. So if you want to get out of the cycle of mediocrity, you got to realize the value that I add is in the important, not the urgent. What you then do is you start finding ways to build shared goals with your team, building shared accountability so that you're not the hero that's jumping in to save the day. Shared accountability. That then leads to development and growth for your team, which leads to greater satisfaction, engagement, employee morale, growth and development, all that good stuff. And you get to focus on the next thing, the next big meaty thing that's coming down the pipe. You get to focus on the important stuff. So two contrasting circles: cycle of mediocrity, cycle of importance. If you find yourself, pardon me, not everybody gets caught in one cycle at all times, and often we can kind of flip through them depending on the day, the context, what's in front of us. But if you want to spend more time in this cycle of excellence and less time in the cycle of mediocrity,